So I'll start by saying Preston nach sayi chlinket ke nach kochen du sak kagwantana chutzati sialakwana yachat. And now that I've exhausted my knowledge of the Tlingit language, I will switch over to English, and I will say I grew up in Seattle here. I started to work with glass in 1982, and at that time I didn't know where I was going with this material. I fell in amongst many great teachers and mentors who encouraged me and taught me through practical experience. I did not go to school for it, so I learned in that way, the traditional way. So I am Tlingit, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a secret. I don't know that when I was called to accept this award and this induction into the Asian Hall of Fame that I'm also a Filipino. Are there any Filipinos in the room? Okay, my people. Right. So I'm actually. So my great-grandmother, I'll tell you how this all came to pass. My great-grandmother, who was full-blooded Tlingit, lived in Sitka, Alaska, and she was part of a prearranged wedding, and so that was the tradition of the times in early 1900s. And my great-grandfather, my Tlingit great-grandfather, was killed in a sawmill accident in 1919. And then she met this Filipino man who had traveled to Alaska, and his name was Dionisio Gubatayo. And so he agreed to marry my great-grandmother and bring all of her children down to Seattle. So that was in 1923 that they relocated to Seattle. And then, so my grandmother was still full-blooded Tlingit, but there was a lot of Filipinos hanging around the house. And so she met this man who was actually in the Navy, John Gubatayo. And so they married, and then of course my mother and her two sisters are my family, and so they're half Filipino, half Tlingit. So in Alaska, that's a very special tribe we call it Tlingapino. And there's a lot of Filipinos in Alaska, if you didn't know. And my great uncle was the first Filipino pharmacist in Seattle. And he owned, first in Yesler was Geo Guy, that's where he was a pharmacist. So, in any case, I'm really honored to accept this award. It's really hard to follow up all those great stories and speeches, but I do want to recognize this confluence of cultures that run through me and how I'm able to connect with different I've collaborated with other Native Americans, from Maori people, from New Zealand, Australian, Aboriginal, but to be here tonight and see and hear these stories that people are talking about and how we strive to, to share our stories with the world, with people. I think it becomes an opportunity to tell this story, and I think that it becomes inspirational for others. And so I would just like to say, in Tlingit, to say thank you, we say Gunash Chish. So Gunash Chish, and thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to be a part of the Asian Hall of Fame.